Day to everyone. My name is Joyce Inya Anak Jos, and let's start with the introduction of pavement distress evaluation by using PCI test, a study case in Parit Raja. Now, in introduction, we will be covering the definition of pavement distress, the literature review of PCI tests, the objective of this study, and the methodology, which is the elaboration of methods that we use for pavement distress evaluation.
Assalamualaikum and hi, my name is Suraya binti Hasim. Okay, I will start this presentation with the introductions of pavement distress evaluation by using PCI testing report. What is pavement distress? Okay, pavement distress can be defined as potholes, ruts, cracks, localized depressions, as well as settlement that can be found on pavement surfaces. The factor that contribute to it is mostly due to environmental factors, which is climate as well as traffic loads. One of the biggest problems that have been faced by pavement engineers is in selecting the most reliable repair strategy for a flexible pavement that is aging and showing disease, because finding the cause of distress is often complex. In other words, there are many types of distress or failure in flexible pavement. So based on this study, the pavement district in the chosen location, which is Lorong Haji Sairi, Parit Raja, located in Johor, Malaysia, which are: first is edge cracking, second longitudinal cracking, third is potholes, fourth is patching, and the last one is alligator cracking. Now we move to literature review. What is road, pavement district, and pavement conditions index (PCI)? Okay, this slide explains about the definitions of them. We start with road. Road can be defined as a pathway which have a smooth or paved surfaces, and it is used for transportation purposes for the passage of vehicle, people, and animals. Road is very useful and give many advantages to the users, especially in economic affairs such as lower cost consumer goods, on-time deliveries, and shorter commutes to work. Next is pavement district. Basically, pavement district is an indication of unfavorable pavement performance. It is classified into two different categories, which is functional failure and structural failure, which depends primarily on the degree surface roughness and consolidations or shear in result respectively. And next is pavement conditions index (PCI). The preservation and rehabilitation strategies in pavement management system is selected by using a sole basis, which is pavement conditions index (PCI), developed by the Construction Engineer Research Laboratory of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. It is very simple and effective communications tool. This figure shows the PCI rating. This method is a numerical rating of pavement conditions that varies from 0 to 100, with 0 being the worst possible conditions and 100 being the greatest possible conditions. Okay, this is the graph of corrected deduct values for flexible pavement. The total deduct value (TDV) is computed by summing all individual deduct values, while the corrected deduct value (CDV) can be determined from the correction curve. The CDV is set equal to the highest individual deduct value when the CDV was determined and shown any individual deduct value is higher than CDV, and use the equations required to get the PCI value. Next is the flexible pavement maintenance technique. Explain about the types of pavement districts on the district road maintenance quite series. Following shows the classification types of pavement districts. First is deformations or distortions such as rutting, corrugation, shelving, depression, and upheaval. Second one is cracking such as longitudinal, transverse, block and alligator track. And the last one is the face defects such as traveling, bleeding, polishing, peeling, and stripping. That is all from me. Next, I will pass these presentations to my group member. Thank you.
Now, let's look at the methodology of study whereby it is explained in our figure 1, which is the flow of methodology for this project's initiation. The first thing that we need to do is to select a topic, which brings us to today's topic. Then we have selected a location, which is Lorong Haji Sairi, located in Paritraja, Johor. Then we plan the sequence and project's flow, moving on to making the literature review and gathering information through articles, journals, and also on-site investigation whereby we need to investigate what types of pavement distress and the information of the road that we have chosen. Then moving on to the data analysis and discussion, which is our PCI test results, and finally the conclusion and recommendation. For this study, we have chosen PCI, which is Pavement Condition Index, to evaluate the distress that we have found in the location that we have chosen. So these are the steps to initiate PCI, which is the Pavement Condition Index. The first thing is to identify what pavement type are you dealing with, either it is flexible or rigid. So in this study, we are using flexible pavement. Next is on-site investigation. So here, we need to collect data for the length, depth, and width to measure the severity level and density of the pavement. So, after we have collect all the data, we need to record it inside of the pavement condition survey sheet, which is shown in figure 3. After that, we need to determine pavement section length to use in the PCI test and divide it into a few sample units. And so here is the example whereby in this study we have chosen 4.6 meter times with 1 kilometer for the pavement section. 1 kilometer is equal to 1000 meter. So for sample units, we divided it into 10 and each sample unit represent 100 meter of the pavement section. Then, after finding the number of sample units, we need to obtain the number of sample units to be surveyed. So, sample units to be surveyed here, we can use the graph for selection of number of sample units to be surveyed. Then from there, we found that it is 5. Then we need to use this equation, which is the sampling interval, which is the big N divided into N. So the big N here, before we have found it is to be 10. And the small n here, we found it from graph to be 5. So 10 divided by 5 equal to 2. That's why in figure 6, we are using a sampling interval of 2, which here, the sample units that needed to be surveyed is sample 1, sample 3, sample 5, sample 7, and sample 9. Now, let's look at the method used for data and analysis. So the first thing is involving the summing up of the distress row to determine the distress density percentage. Then, by using deduct value curve as shown in figure 7 to 11, let's look at figure 7 to 11, which is the deduct value here. We found that there's a value for H, M, and L. H refer to high, M refer to medium, and L refer to low. So here, you can find the severity of the pavement distress and decide it inside of the deduct value. Then the interception that is developed in the curve refers to the deduction value for distress. Next, we need to find the maximum allowable number of deducts, which is M. The first thing we need to do is to select the highest deduct value, or in short term HDV, which is found in each distress. Then by using equation 2, which is shown in this slide, we need to compute M. Then we need to arrange it in descending order to determine the number of deduct value. So the M value shall be divided into two parts, which is hundreds and ones. For example, if we found that the M value is 7.42, then 0.42 will be the hundreds value, while 7 will be the ones value. Then we need to compare M and number of deduct value. For example, if M is larger than the number of deduct value, then all deduct value shall be selected and no multiplication is needed. But if M is lower than the number of deduct value, then all value should be selected, but the remaining plus 1 value should be multiplied with the hundreds value. Then moving on to maximum corrected deduct value, which is the CDV. Here, we need to note that the term for the number of deduct value should be greater than 2 to be considered in Q. Then, we need to find the total deduct value to find the CDV. Then after that, after finding the CDV, we need to look at the maximum CDV so that we can use it in the PCI equation here, which is PCI equals to 100 minus CDV max.
So hi and assalamualaikum, my name is Shasha Nurina. I'm going to present for the result and calculation. So we have obtained the data of 10 samples and 5 of the sample is chosen to do the analysis, and so this is the example of sample 1. So as you can see from the result, there are 4 types of distress that we found over the road, and for the first one is alligator cracking medium, second one is edge cracking medium and also light, and the fourth one is pothole, which is high pothole. So the deduct value that we found from that is 15, 19, 2 and also 70. So for the next step is the first thing we need to find is the maximum allowable number of deducts, which is M. So since we found the highest deduct value, HDV equals to 70, so M is 1 plus 9 over 98 times with 100 minus HDV, which is 70. So we found M as 3.76. So we have to arrange the values, the deduct values in descending orders. So we've arranged it as 70, 19, 15, also 2. So we got the number of deduct value is equals to 4. So since the maximum allowable number of deducts is 3.76, so therefore all the deduct values are selected is 70, 19, 15 and also 2 we have to times with 0.76 based from the M values. So the next one is we arrange all the numbers in these tables. So since the 1.52 is lower than 2, so we cannot take the CDV, and then we got 60. So the CDV numbers we obtain is 65, 64 and also 74. So for the next one is we have to find the maximum corrected deduct value, which is CDV. So based from the figure, we found that the CDV is 65 and the maximum CDV is 74. So then we have to determine the pavement condition index. So for the PCI equation, we have to minus 100 with the CDV maximum, so that we obtain is 74. So 100 minus 74 is 26. So based on the rating of PCI values, number of 26 is considered as the poor condition. So this section of pavement is in a poor condition. So I think that's all from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum and hi, my name is Husna, matrix number DF210043, and I'm going to present about the discussion of our result. So based on the investigation, the value of PCI can be determined based on the pavement condition index, which is PCI, rating scale and suggested colors. So from the total of 10 samples taken from the investigation, 5 of the samples has the PCI values of 26, 85, 45, 44 and 80 respectively. From sample 3 and sample 9, the PCI values indicate that the pavement is in a very good condition. However, the PCI values from sample 1, sample 5 and sample 7 shows that the pavement needs to undergo for maintenance since it is in poor and fair condition. So from the data taken, various types of damage collected including edge cracking, alligator cracking, longitudinal cracking and pothole.
Hi and Assalamualaikum, my name is Nurul Syamna Afika binti Syarizan. So now I'm going to present about the discussion which is about maintenance and rehabilitation method. So for our group, for the maintenance, some of the method that can be used for our pavement is, for example, the first one is resurface the pavement, which is overlay the wearing asphalt course because the subgrade of our road still remain in the good condition. Next, for the edge cracking, we can use the sand to fill and bloat the edge gaps between the ridge pavement and bituminous coated shoulder. And the road has to be examined many times a year and filled as needed to keep the water out of all the time. So the next method that can be used is by using the herbicide chemicals to treat any plants found in these cracks. Next, we can also reducing the overloading on the asphalt surface for the fatigue cracking, which by increasing the depth of the asphalt layer or enhancing the drainage system. Next, for the other maintenance is we can use using the asphalt to seal the pothole or maintaining the pavement structural integrity with the thickness and the continuity to mix it to prevent the water penetration and also can promote the water migration away from the roadway. And lastly, for the repairing, some of the method that can be used for our damage, for our road damage, which is we can use the patching method for the pothole, which is we can use the temporary, which use the cold mix asphalt, or the semi-permanent, which use the hot mix asphalt. Lastly, the conclusion. The PCI, the Pavement Quality Index, is the numerical index that range from 0 to 100 that represent the overall condition of the pavement. So the PCI is used to measure the performance of the road infrastructure and the service level. So based on our calculation, the quality of our sample road at Lorong Haji Sairi has a condition of poor, fair and very good at certain places along the road. So some of the maintenance work has to be done regularly by the authorized organization, so the pavement will not be affected by any other damage road. So that's all from our group. Thank you.